right, good evening, everyone. This is my favorite service. Well, actually, this one and next Sunday are my two favorite services of the year. And for me, there is so much fabulous symbolism that goes with the end and the beginning. And a lot of people really struggle with endings. For me, this process of looking at the new year and wrapping one up and getting ready for the next has been a tremendous lesson for me in understanding that closings are as important as openings. And so this year has been an especially big challenge for me because I've thought, how do we do this with all of this? You know, with online and with people being socially distanced, and so I've done a handful of things. One is I have I've slimmed a lot of things down. So we're going to stop here in a minute and pray now that everybody's beginning to get settled that's in the house. So if you would, just take a deep breath with me. And a nice big sigh. And if you do that, where you have an audible out breath for the next 3 or 4 breaths, and know that as you breathe in that life force, and as you breathe out, everything unlike that goes out with that audible breath. Allow yourself to take everything that was required to get you here tonight, everything that awaits you when you leave, and allow them to simply be set aside so that you can come to this space of closing with a soft and gentle heart, without the distractions of the busyness of life. So I know that as we go forward tonight, that there is a divine presence that is with us. It lives and moves and has its being in through and as me, in through and as everyone, everywhere. It is pure peace and joy, happiness, love, kindness, compassion, abundance, health, wisdom, so much more, so much more. I know that is the power that is in charge here tonight. It lives and operates with each of us. And so I set the intention for tonight that each and every person here and each and every person at home allows themselves to simply breathe out everything of this very complex year. And as we do so, we make a clean, fresh place to begin 2021. So I turn this all over to that divine wisdom, knowing that the universe always says yes, and so it is. So I thought a lot about, usually people write a whole lot of things down on their little piece of flash paper, and if you'll notice, the people who are here, you have one that just says 2020. If you're at home, please find a piece of paper, make it a small piece of paper, and just write 2020 on it. Because pretty much, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty much to let 2020 go, right? I have a friend, I got her a shirt, and I don't know how to do this in a churchily correct way, but it shows a martini glass, and it says liquor, and it's like the dictionary so that there's a space and a little dot and a pronunciation below it, and it says, the glue that's holding this 2020 manure show together. Right? It has been a year, obviously, that has been challenging. And with everything that's challenging, there are always good. But I think that the challenges have been profound for most of us. Because we are, by nature, we are congregate beings. We are herd animals. We are hardwired for love and connection. And even those of us who have a great comfort with being alone, there is still a need, even in those of us who would rather be alone, there's still a need to connect. And so this year, being what it is, not having the ability to connect. I know that everyone who's coming here now that we're open, not being able to hug each other, all of us, you can just see us kind of going, I just want to hug them so badly. And so it's things like that. It's the little things that make you realize so very much how wired we are to connect. And I will tell you that since March, I have had a taller version of these pillar candles burning on my altar at home 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, since March. And the only time it's out is if it happens to burn itself out when I'm sleeping or something. And I started it because I said, I don't recall a time in my life, with the exception of the AIDS epidemic, that this many people were leaving the planet this fast. And so in this year, because I didn't know anyone who had COVID at that time, and I was still saying, I don't know what you guys are having such a hissy about, it's the flu. So it doesn't matter. I just said there are people leaving, and so we need to honor that, we need to support that, and we need to create a space of love for that to happen. And so that's been my intention with a part of that. And the other is simply to hold the light for a higher consciousness, to hold the light knowing that we are living in the contagion of fear. That's what 2020 has been for me. It has been a physical demonstration of the contagion of fear. And so one of the things that when we go into the meditation and start thinking about 2020, what I'm going to ask you to do is to look at the times you have allowed or not allowed, or you have, whether you were conscious of it or not, sort of got sucked into that contagion of fear, to swim in that soup of fear, because all of us have had it happen. It's just impossible to live in a race consciousness where there aren't times that you go, crap, I bit the hook on that one, right? I bit the hook. I bought stuff at the grocery store that I absolutely knew I didn't need, or I imploded. I know that probably in the end of April, I had a period of time at work where I just imploded. Each of us have had at least one, I believe, kind of space where we went, and there was something that was rattled in us. So allow yourself to remember those when we go through this process, and to be kind to yourself. Because, in my opinion, you cannot be in the presence of as much fear and anxiety as we have been this year without having it impact you at some level. So be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself, be compassionate with yourself. I know that there in challenges there are always learnings. And I will tell you, probably one of the biggest for me has to do with self-compassion. It has to do with how quickly, when I bit the hook for fear or anger or whatever kind of this swirling mess in consciousness that we've been dealing with, because we've had COVID, we've had politics, we've had natural disasters of fires and floods. I mean, it's like the four horsemen are among us if you think you believe in all how that works. But every generation has thought that the end was nigh. But look first and give yourself that permission. And then allow yourself to say, how did I respond? How did I respond to me when I bit that hook? How did I respond to me if I didn't operate at the level that I wish I had? Reverend Karen a couple weeks ago talked about Palmer Parker, or Parker Palmer. I'm sorry, I don't have that particular note with me, but he talked about the questions that we're asking ourselves the wrong questions. And the question that he said, in his opinion, was so important was, And it's the first question on the sheet that I gave you. Have I been faithful to my values? Have I been faithful to my values? So for those of you at home, I do have some paperwork. If you want to contact the center, I can email it to you. But either way, we're going to go through it, and so you'll be able to do just fine. And grab yourself a piece of paper and a pen as well, or as we go. But the first thing is these essential, important questions. Have I been faithful to my values? And is the life I'm living the same as the life that wants to live in me? Does that make sense, that question? Is the life I'm living the same as the life that wants to live in me? For me, that's that divine tug. That's that higher consciousness. That's the part of me that chooses a different way of thinking, a different way of being. So in this process, allow yourself to be kind for the things that haven't worked, but also then to look at what have you learned, because I defy any of us to not be able to look through their life and find some areas where they can say, there has been some things I've learned. And there have been some things, and hopefully no one from my office is watching. I love working at home. If I never go back to the office, I'd be a happy woman. But more importantly, we didn't have to have a Christmas potluck. And I will tell you, that was like, it was like, thank you, COVID. Because that's my least favorite day of the year, the office potluck. So whether it's something ridiculous like that, or whether it's something significant like realizing how important self-compassion is. Another one that was really pretty global that I didn't realize until I was doing my year-end review, which I always do before this time, and that is, if you'd have asked me in March, if you thought someone doing my job could work from home, I would have said probably a couple days a month. But if you're doing project work for the CEO of a company and you are dealing with the board members and board meetings and committee meetings, you're the board liaison, you have to be there. You have to be next to the people that you are working with. And what I found was that yes, we can. And so that was a learning that was really kind of a very broad one for me to say, that is not only a hook that you bit for yourself, but that was kind of a global consciousness. That was a collective consciousness for things related to my type of job. And so it's looking at where and what and how have I been able to find the gift, the good, the learning, even in the presence of the pain. I'm a believer in Michael Beckwith's comment, pain pushes until the vision pulls. I also know that when the pain of being the way you are becomes greater than the pain of change, you will change. But I also believe in the presence of enough love where you feel safe and loved and supported, that in that environment you also can change. And I think that those of us who are drawn to this philosophy are people who feel that, who feel that in the presence of enough love, if they can allow themselves to shed old skins or layers of the onion and step into a way of being that really is faithful to our values, and it is living according to life that wants to live in me. So, are you ready? So at home, if you get yourself a piece of paper, I think the folks who are here will have a piece of paper. And we're going to start with, first, let me just say, I've stolen, and I will just be right up front about it. There's an author who I just love, and I use her book every year at this time of year. It's Danielle Laporte, and the book is The Desire Map. And the back half of the book is a workbook that allows you to go through and ask yourself questions and do different analysis of who you are and how you operate. And she also sells it in just like an individual workbook. So I have like 15 of them because I use them so often. So, question, a lot of these things come from this book. So I'm giving her credit here. But one of the things she starts with, and she always starts with, because I've taken some classes, online classes with her as well, is she calls it a soul limber exercise. And it is an exercise where it's just rapid fire questions, and you don't think. You just allow yourself to make a little note about the answer to that. And so we're going to start with the soul limber stream of consciousness exercise. And it's just don't think, just respond. Trust your heart to override your mind. And so there's going to be 12 questions. So if you want, you can number your paper 1 to 12. If not, you can just respond as we go. I'm not going to give you a whole lot of time because this really is rapid fire. So you ready? Mm-hmm. First question. I crave. I crave. We all have something that we yearn for, that we crave. Other than money or time, which we all think we need more of, so other than money or time, I want, fill in that blank. Other than money or time, I want. This one's a little harder, and it may be something that you come back to, but it's one that always kind of rattles me a little bit. What's my most regular waking thought? I don't know how they figured it out, but there's somebody who's done a research project that says we think over like 60 thoughts an hour or a minute. I mean, it's like some huge number. How do you measure somebody's thoughts? But they do know that we have recurring patterns of thought. So what would you say is the most common or the most regular way you think? What do I do even though I don't want to? That one used to be one that I could have written for an hour on. I'm much better now at the concept of no, but for many of us, that's a challenge. I lived my life in the land of obligation for many years. And I am no longer vehemently against obligation, but I still don't, I don't do that much that I don't want to, but still there are times. What do I do even though I don't want to? What most weighs me down? What is the thing that most weighs me down? What makes us feel like we have a heavy heart or a clogged mind? What makes us, when we think of it, almost have a feeling that in consciousness our shoulders have rolled forward and our head is down from the weight? What am I keeping in reserve, locked up, and hidden away? I think that many of us have things that we do lock away, either because we don't think we deserve to have the good, or we think that if anybody really knew who we were, each of us have a different reason for hiding something and locking something away, or holding it back. So holding in reserve for me is, what do I need to hang on to in case the proverbial stuff hits the fan, right? And I need more strength or more whatever it may be. So what am I keeping in reserve, locked up, and hidden away? Now we're getting some more fun ones. What's something that comes easy and natural for me? What comes easy and natural for me? Oddly enough, this one always kind of stumps me in the beginning. I'm most alive when? And because I always have to stop and think about that one, it tells me kind of how my process goes still a lot. I'm most alive when? What What feels ever present and steady within me? What is that part of you that you know is always at the point, at the tip, at the ready? What feels ever present and steady within me? I'd like to give myself permission to be more of what? I'd like to give myself permission to be more. One thing that's unique about me is and then my joy comes from. What brings you joy? There was a time in my life when you asked me that, I couldn't have given you an answer that wasn't tied to what I produced, what I did, not what I was, how I felt, my way of being. My joy comes from. And the minister that I've worked with for years used to query me about that. And I would say something and he would say, no, so that's doing. Another one. Let's go back to the drawing board. And I probably spent 6 months trying to figure the answer to that question because I was so caught up in doing. My joy comes from. Now, Danielle Laporte works a lot with what she calls core desired feelings. Your core desires. Because her belief is that if you set an intention, she talks about goals with soul. And her belief is that if it doesn't come from your soul, if it doesn't come with deep feeling, that it's just a thought. I know that for me, if I put something on an intention list and it just won't show up, I had one that kept showing up for 3 or 4, maybe 5 years, and all of a sudden I went, whose good idea is this for me? Clearly not mine, because it doesn't get done. Because if you are in this philosophy long enough, you usually get pretty good at knowing when and how to get something done. So she talks about that, and the whole process then from as we move forward is about getting in touch with those core desired feelings, because those are the things that make a difference. Those are the things that bring about real change. And those are the things that are the guideposts for our life. So there's a whole process, and we're doing just the first page of this. We'll go over some of it, but there's an exercise at the back called It's in the Words, and it's a whole exercise on how to really get clear on your core desired feelings. Because they are what drive the bus. They really are. And the more clear you are, we know that when you know and are clear, the easier it is to make manifest. So, with core desired feelings, recall a few times when you didn't feel the way you wanted to feel. Some times when you didn't feel the way you wanted to feel. And now recall a few times when you felt the way you were hoping you'd feel. Something happened, an event or an interaction, or just time doing something, either alone or with someone else. Recall a time when you felt the way you were hoping you would feel. And so every year, I usually give out a much more complicated sheet on intentions, but this year I've really simplified it because I've found for me, especially in this year where there has been so much upheaval, that it really is easy to narrow it down and make it a little stronger. So, how would you like to feel about your body, in terms of your body? It could be health, it could be look, it could be anything. How would you like to feel about your body? It could incorporate exercise or you name it. How would you like to feel about your body? For a lot of women, that's kind of a light up issue. We're in a culture that puts a lot of emphasis on how we look. So how would you like to feel about your body? How would you like to feel about your lifestyle? That's kind of a broad, sweeping one, that it may have to do with the things that you have or the activities that you do, the people who are in and out of your life, not the nature of the relationship, but just kind of the rhythm and flow of life. What you have, what you don't have, what you want, what you'd like to get rid of. It's very easy to get caught up in when. If when. If this or when this happens, then I'll be happy. When this happens, I'll be okay. When this happens, whatever. So how do you want your lifestyle to look? And it truly can be anything from physical possessions to how you spend your time, to how you make your money, all of those things. I'll ask you to just, you can work on these sorts of things. It's sort of the crux of what we'll do going forward for setting intentions for the year, but this is just kind of the fast play through it all. So how would you like to feel in terms of relationships? And that could be intimate relationships, it could be friendships, it could be work, it could be anything. How would you like to feel about relationships? How you feel in relationship with someone else, how they feel in relationship with you. How do you want to feel about your relationships? And sometimes that's a tough one. If we have a relationship we don't like, or is challenging, relationships and jobs are my two things that are easiest to give an example of. I know that if I could just get this mate, my life would be better. And a little while later, you're saying, if I could just get rid of this mate, I know it'd be better. If I could just get this job, I know it'd be better. If I could just get rid of this job. Because that's looking for something outside of us to make us okay. So how do you want to feel in your relationships? And this one for me, this one's a really important one. Reverend Karen laughs and says, in the next election cycle, she's just not even going to be hanging around me anymore because I get wound up pretty easily. I literally, when Justice Kennedy retired from the bench of the Supreme Court, I just had a nosedive that's really bad. And when RBG died, another one hit. So it's like, we're not hanging out with you and all that kind of stuff. Because it's a really challenging for me. How do I want to feel about the world? And right now, this is a time when I believe how we choose to feel about the world makes a big impact. It's people like us who know the power of our thinking, the power of our choices, who can begin to lift into or flow into that collective consciousness, higher thoughts. Because higher thoughts always lift lower thoughts. It's like the expression, I think it's rising waters lift all boats. How do you want to feel about the world around you? And so what happens with things like that is you can look at those feelings and begin to look for some patterns and some themes. And that's kind of work that, from my perspective, is something that you hone in on. But you'll find pretty quickly that it's easy to identify some themes. And then there are some great questions that she asks. What do I need to do in order to feel the way I desire? And so one of them is kind of a shake it off sort of thing. I used to have one of my mentors who would say to me, what's your highest thought? Actually, he did the other way. What's your lowest thought about whatever it may be? What's your highest thought about whatever it may be? So this is kind of a get this stuff out of your system set of questions. Are there any failures or mistakes that you're afraid you might make again? We don't do mistakes well in our culture. Pema Chodron has a book called Fail, Fail Again, Fail Better, with the basic assumption that failure is a part of how life works, that there's nothing wrong with it. So what are there failures or mistakes that you're afraid you'll make again? Are there wounds that are still healing inside of you? What are the current conditions or obstacles that appear to be stopping you from getting what you want? We all have kind of those thoughts. Well, I would do it, but. That's why one of the soul lumber questions is, outside of time and money, and then I love this one. I don't know about you, because I have one of these. What does your haughty inner critic say to you about what you want? What does your haughty inner critic say to stop you? Mine is less vicious than she used to be. And she has less power than she used to have, but certainly there are times when that's a full-blown, finger-shaking disapproval, haughty inner critic. What does your haughty inner critic say to stop you? And then these are great things. It's the quelling the negative. So how do you get outside of and stop that haughty inner critic, to stop that downward spiral of shame or whatever it may be? Name 3 ways that you know that you have been successful in your life. 3 things that you can point to and say, I know this has been a success, that I have accomplished this, that I feel good about accomplishing something. Could be big, could be small. A lot of times we don't count small things. We think, I'm not curing cancer, so what difference does it make if I did what our haughty inner critic says is small? There's no big or small in the divine. This is one of my favorite ones. And that is, who are the people who support you most? Who are the people that support you most? There was a time in my life when I would look at the people who I knew loved me, and I would say, well, you have to love me, you're my husband. Or, it's like somehow loving has hit you with a stupid stick, and you just don't pay any attention to all of the things that are awful about me. But if it hadn't been hit by the stupid stick, you would know. But I'm blessed. I think I'm blessed with people who will put up with me saying, you clearly have been hit with a stupid stick, and they love me anyway. So who are the people that have supported you the most? And how have they supported you? Letting ourselves be supported is one of the hardest things for many of us to do. We're not really good at it in our culture. And allow ourselves to be supported in a healthy way as opposed to sort of a victim way. Who are the role models in your life that prove that it can be done? And do you allow yourself to see them as a role model or as an exception? Do you allow the people who you see as having done something that's important to you, or you're impressed with, or you wish you could do, or even if you don't wish you could do it, just who are the role models of someone who has been able to accomplish something perhaps that they didn't think they had? I spent, 6 years maybe, taking a series of classes called Mastering the Impossible. Each term you had a new impossible project to select. So who are the role models that prove it can be done? And now, this is one that you can just take a little blast at tonight, but allow yourself to spend time with. This is sort of the beginning of the exercise that I have here called It's in the Words. Make a list of high-energy, uplifting words that describe those people in your life, those people who've supported you, or those people who have been a role model to prove that something could be done. What are the high-energy, uplifting words that describe those people? You don't have to know someone to admire them. There are some public figures. I never knew Ruth Bader Ginsburg, but she was a tremendous hero of mine. So you don't have to know somebody. High energy, uplifting words that describe those people. And when you go home, I'm going to ask you to get out a dictionary or a thesaurus, or use your online dictionary and thesaurus, and really begin to look at the words that we use. They're so powerful. They're so powerful. Uplifting, high energy words. And so allow yourself now to pick up that little piece of paper that says 2020, all right? And just put it close to your heart. And allow yourself to take a few deep breaths. Allow yourself to let everything that you would like to let go of find its way into that little square of paper And for those of you at home, that paper that you wrote 2020 on, allow yourself to hold that to your heart and say, everything that has been a source of pain, that hasn't supported me in the life I want to live, that has frightened me or angered me, that didn't work, every place where I didn't live up to my values, I wasn't faithful to my values, or when I lived a life that wasn't the life that wants to live in me. Someplace, anything, absolutely anything and everything. And allow yourself to just breathe and let things flow into that paper that you may not even be aware of. Because we can let go of things if we choose to say, I don't need to know what it is. I only need to believe that if I just allow everything that no longer supports me, that it works. My very, very first time in New Thought was with Carrie Cole Whittaker a million years ago. And in one of her talks, one of her Sunday talks, she said, think about when you take out the trash. You take the plastic bag out, you tie a knot in it, and you haul it to the curb, or you roll your bin out and put it on the curb. We don't jump in and start digging through it and say, oh, wait a minute, maybe this is good. Maybe I really need to keep this. Yes, it's covered with coffee grounds and eggshells. That might be last night's dinner. But I have to keep it, right? You don't have to. You don't know everything that's in your trash when you roll it to the street. This is the same thing. Just allow yourself everything that no longer serves me, everything that might stand in the way of being faithful to my values, everything that might stand in the way of living the life that wants to live in me. And everything that I don't even know, that I can't even articulate, that it's in there too. That the whole of this past year, whether it's personal or collective, let it go into that piece of paper. So for those of us who are here in the sanctuary, there is a bucket up here. I have tried many ways over the years to figure out how to do this flash paper without people frightening themselves or burning something, even though it flashes away really quick. It's spooky sometimes. So here's my latest try. You can't see this at home, but there's a little bucket, and it has some candles in it. So we can't all come and line up like we do sometimes. So just one person at a time, if you would come and you kind of lean forward and drop it as close as you can onto some of the candles. And if it doesn't flash, I will flash whatever's left. Because some don't. Very good. And so just what I love about flash paper, and you can't do this at home, but what I love about flash paper is that it flames up and there's no residue. There's no ash. There's nothing. It's just gone. So who else wants to put theirs in? It'll go. I know, when they go, they're big. Oops. It's okay. If it didn't get it, we'll get him at the end.
Thank you.
So there'll be a big flash when we're done. Reverend Clyde and I talked about just having everybody put them in a bowl and we would burn them all at once. But I think that might make a really romping, stomping flame, and it made me a little nervous. So I'm trying this instead. There we go. We'll get them, I promise.
No, but I wanted to see it.
Well, I'll see if I can't reach in there and grab some of them out. Try again. All right. Well, let me go take a peek and see if any of them are easy to get. Don't, you have long sleeves on. No burning yourself up here, people.
No, I'm safe. We're safe.
Yes, you can look at the camera going, how does that look? Everyone at home, be patient with us as we figure this out.
I didn't want to. Yay!
Yay, so they're all burned now. They've all flashed away. Thank you, Tracy. So now, allow yourself to sit down. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath, a cleansing breath. And know that everything unlike the truth of who we are, everything that we've carried forward through this year, any heaviness, sadness, whatever it may be, everything has simply gone with the flame into the void from which it came, into the nothingness. And imagine, if you will, the notion of having had a weight on your shoulders that has lifted. Allow yourself to sit up, stretch your spine, relax your shoulders, wiggle your head. Just imagine that you have that cord that runs through you that pulls you up now to this full height of who you are. That the weight and the heaviness have gone. Just feel, imagine what it would feel like if you'd been carrying that heavy load on your back or in your arms. What would it feel like to be able to move freely without that? Stand tall, head up, chin up, with your arms free to move. Allow that feeling of lightness enter your body. To feel any heaviness that your body has carried. Our bodies are amazing. They carry a lot for us. They carry a lot for us. Bless your body. And allow this new year to breathe new life, to energize, to heal if needed, to balance, to harmonize, to strengthen, to ground, to be flexible, to lift. Just bless your body for all that it's done for you your whole life. Start at your feet. How many years are we alive? How many years have our feet carried us? Have our knees worked? Our hips? Tremendous number of bones in our feet. Just Just allow your body, bless it, thank it for carrying you around. And then move up to your hips and the base of your spinal cord, up your spinal cord, around your ribs, to all of those internal organs that dwell in your body. Anything dark or heavy, light comes to it, both light as in bright and light as in weight. Your shoulders, allow yourself to ride, up and down on your shoulders and see if you can't get some of that energy out. Our shoulders carry a lot. Your neck, amazing thing, holds your head on. It's pretty heavy for such a small balance point. Allow your neck. Imagine flexibility that you may not have had come to your neck and to your spine, your shoulders, your arms, your hands, your knees, your hips, your feet, everywhere. That there's a flexibility of movement that comes from this release. Your body becomes free to move. Go up into your jaw. Boy, do we hold a lot of tension in our jaw, our forehead. Just allow your face to completely relax. Bless your body as it carries you into the new year. And when you set intentions, include your body and how you'd like it to feel. How would you like to feel with it? And how would you like it to feel? How would you like to feel about it? And how would your feelings impact how you operate in it? Because our body has carried a lot this year without a conscious awareness. Think about the people in your life, those who've supported you, those who've been challenging. Regardless of the nature of the interaction, allow yourself to bless the people in your life. Sometimes it's hard to bless the people that we have had challenges with. The loving kindness meditation talks about, may you be filled with loving kindness, may you be well, may you be peaceful and at ease, may you be happy. It's a meditation that I use a lot. It starts with you. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be happy. The other people around you. Same thing. The same wish, because I believe we all really want to love and be loved. And I believe to the depths of my being that when anyone lashes out, including me, that the pain inside of me has to be significant for me to lash out at someone else. So just allow yourself to bless all of the relationships of your life. And look at how you've lived your life and just allow whether with everything you let go or everything that's still there, it doesn't matter. Allow yourself to just bless yourself for this past year. Give yourself credit for being standing. Sometimes I think that's a mighty low bar, but really it isn't. I'm still here. Regardless of what the world has thrown at me this year, I'm still here. Some of the things have been handled with grace and ease and others not so much, but I'm still here. And in a world where people are leaving so quickly, and not just COVID, probably the first 6 months, I lost a lot of people in my life that had nothing to do with the pandemic. The term, the veil is thin. I think that this is a time when the veil is thin. I think that we have been in a liminal period, a period where the past is closed and done and the future isn't fully orbed and shaped. And in that time is great uncertainty. And I think that there are some people who just have said, whatever it is, I'm not hanging out. And there's nothing wrong with that. We're sad when we lose people, but just know that you are still here, that means that you still have a purpose, that you still have gifts to give. What gifts have you given this year? What gifts have you given to yourself, to your family, to your friends, to the world? And not physical gifts necessarily, but the gift that comes from inside of us. I know the people in this room, and I know that you have all given gifts far more than you realize, that you can imagine. And everyone at home, the same thing. We have all given gifts this year to those around us and to the world. Be grateful and allow yourself to be pleased and to give yourself credit, to say, I gave this gift. I did this. I accomplished this. In our world, we slap people around if we say you're proud, and that's bad. It's not. It's not. What have you given, and what have you accomplished? And allow yourself to be pleased, to be grateful, and to give yourself credit. I took a series of classes where drove us all a little crazy in the beginning, but you had to start each class with your check-in. It had to include a brag, something you've accomplished, something you did, something that you're pleased with. As you go forward through this year, allow yourself to do that, to honor and acknowledge yourself when you give a gift. Honor those abilities and skills and talents that you have. And again, I know who's in this room, and I know that there are some remarkable gifts that have been given. And everyone who's watching, remarkable gifts that have been given. Give yourself credit. Now I'd like you to think about the qualities of God. Peace, joy, love, happiness, health, harmony. I wish Cheryl were here. Who studies with Reverend Cheryl? What are Cheryl's 10?
Power, peace, love, light, beauty.
Hang on, I got to bring the, because
Oh no, don't put me on the spot.
health,
Health, power, peace, love, light, beauty, joy.
health, power, peace, love, light, beauty,
Joy.
joy.
And
That's good.
How many, right? Power, peace, love, light, beauty, joy, health, prosperity.
Anyway, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So, a lot of them. So allow yourself to just think about the qualities of God, whether it's those 10 or any others, those divine gifts, that is the truth of who we are. That is who is, when you ask the question, am I living the life that wants to live in me? What wants to live in you is the qualities of God.
Yes.
Well, think about those. Think about the qualities of God that you would like to have more clearly present and active in your life in this upcoming year. I really believe that if we focus on the qualities of God that we want to have blossom and grow in us, that anything we may set for an intention will automatically take care of itself. And there are a lot of qualities of God, and I know that when I think about them, I can usually rattle off at least a dozen that I'd like. But if you think about them, think about the qualities of God. If there was just one that if it blossomed in you, that it would touch everything else, that it would sort of incorporate or draw in everything else. Is there that one thing that if you focused on that, if you allowed that, if you nurtured that, then it would make all the difference? Kindness and compassion were the ones that kept coming up for me for last year. The ones that were developed and were grown in me. And allow that to be like a magnet that you put in your mind, that you put in your heart, and it becomes that which draws to you everything good in this upcoming year. Know that you are a remarkable person, not because of what you do, but because of who you are. You are amazing simply because you're here, because you've shown up, because you've made a commitment to be at something like this, to participate, to think, to listen. That makes it just blossom and expand beyond our wildest imagining. And that's my wish for you. Whatever that quality of God may be, that it blossoms and grows, that it stays like a light in your mind and a light in your heart that guides the way and a magnet that draws all unto it. So if you will, with me now, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and imagine that. Imagine how your life would look with more of that quality of God. Peace, love, kindness, compassion, wisdom, clarity, light, happiness, joy, health, abundance, well-being, caring. Just imagine it touching every area of your life and every relationship in your life. Imagine it's like a light that goes out from you, and each person it touches lights up. Each thing that you touch lights up. Each place that you go, you bring the light. You dispel the darkness. You create the light. You bring the light. You are the light. So allow yourself to feel that anchor in your mind and anchor in your heart. And know that in this moment, this commitment that you make to allowing that to expand in your life creates a path that is clear and easy to follow in this upcoming year. I give thanks for each and every person watching, each and every person who will watch later, each and every person who is here, and everyone everywhere who has a commitment to be more light, more love, more peace, more joy, more happiness, more harmony, more wisdom, more clarity, health, abundance, kindness, compassion. That each person everywhere who takes a stand, that we make a difference. That we make a difference in 2021. That each of us here, by bringing our gift, by bringing our light, by allowing that divine to expand in us, we change the world. So it is. So I'll ask you one last thing. I really believe it's important to do a values assessment at the beginning of every year. I do it every year. I laugh because, sometimes they're pretty much the same, and other times there'll be one that pops up that makes me go, where did you come from? You weren't here last year. Where did you come from? I had order show up one year. If you know me, that was like, what? If you've ever been to my house, you'd know that order is not my gift. I can organize other people's lives, but not mine. Yes, I can, actually, but anyway. Allow yourself to do a values assessment. And your values, that question, have I been faithful to my values? If you don't know what they are, you can't be faithful to them, right? Conscious, awake, and aware. So do that values assessment and go home and do the exercise about it in the words. And for those of you who are watching, Cheryl, you'll kill me. Send an email to the church. I'll make sure she has it and she can email it out to you, or she will forward you on to me and I will email it out to you. Cheryl, are our email addresses on the website?
Should be, yeah.
Okay, so that would save Cheryl, for which I'm sure she's very grateful. If my email address is on the website, go ahead and email me and I'll get you out that information. Be kind to yourself this year, ladies and gentlemen. Be kind to yourself. Our world is still changing. Be that quality of God this year. And be kind to yourself along the way. Thank you. So next Sunday, I do church. Every year I do church, and I have a little something that we do with the ceremony. So this year I have these cool shells. And if you can be here, you'll get a shell. And if you can't be here, there's some either in the lobby or there's a little Tupperware, not Tupperware, but like plastic food storage thing out by the front door that has some in it. Come and get them. And again, if you can't find your way here, send me an email and we'll figure out a way to get you one. It's a fabulous spiral shell. The theme for the Centers for Spiritual Living this year is timeless wisdom, which we have in all of us, an evolutionary vision. What a lovely theme for the year. Timeless wisdom, evolutionary vision. So that's what we'll focus on Sunday. How do we bring that access to the timeless wisdom and that evolutionary vision? We'll see you then. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.